Hey guys, welcome to a review of Ace Attorney 2. Um, I guess the proper name is Ace Attorney Justice for All. I reviewed the first one a couple months ago, and I finished the second one fairly quickly. Oh god, no, the lighting is so bad. Okay, there we go. Do not face it near the window, that's very bad. Um, I finished the second one pretty quickly. Well, part of the reason I finished it quickly is when I got to the fifth case, the first one, that case was so long and I would get stuck on it a lot because there were parts of it that were tricky, and I'm also just not that good at the Ace Attorney game. I feel like I'm getting better at them though. Like I've already made it pretty far into the third one. Like I started it quickly after starting the second one, and I've already made it pretty far because I feel like I'm starting to like ca- catch on to things quicker. But when I was finishing the first game, I was still pretty bad. So I kind of started the second game while like finishing that fifth case because I knew the fifth case was released later and it didn't chronologically tie in really. So I knew it wouldn't affect my enjoyment of the second game. So so by the time I finished the first game, I had already finished like the first case, at least the first case, possibly the second one of Justice for All. Now, a lot of people say Justice for All is the weakest of the series. I don't know if that's true. I mean, I've only played the original Justice for All and some of Trials and Tribulations. I know that Justice for All is the only one in the original trilogy with four cases and not five, which I mean, that's like a detriment, I guess. But I also don't really like there are things that people criticize Justice for All for. One of them is the soundtrack, and I mean, I guess some of the soundtrack is worse than the other games, but I mean, it's not really. Like the soundtrack is not that bad, but and then another thing that gets criticized a lot is some of the cases. In particular, case 3 is heavily criticized for being an annoying case. It's the standard Ace Attorney case 3 where it's like it's the middle case that doesn't really have to do with the overall plot of the game, and it just kind of is there to be the the filler case. So, but I can't quite agree with a lot of the opinions on case 3, and I'll go into that when I do my case by case analysis, which is what I did in the first game, although I don't know if I actually called it that. But I mean, but yeah, I'd say like I liked the game just as much as the first one. In particular, the fourth case excels. I mean, I don't know, it wasn't as long as the first game, so it didn't give me as full of an experience. So I could say for that reason alone, it probably is worse than that game. But at the same time, it's not a bad game. I don't know if I'd call it the worst of the series. I mean, I can't really say whether it's the worst of the series. I mean, I feel like if I was gonna I feel like if I was gonna rank it, I'd have to do like a retrospective, like go back and look at it again after finishing the whole series. Maybe a top 10 Ace Attorney games video or something. I don't know. I feel like if I did that though, I'd want to actually have editing skills and not just be me filming myself talking about it, which works for for off the cuff reviews because that's how I like reviewing things off the cuff. It's just more interesting that way for me. And but yeah, I mean, I liked it a lot. I loved it. I thought it was great. I mean, Ace Attorney just is a consistently really good entertain. It's kind of like reading a book. I used to read books a lot as a kid. I don't do it that much anymore, but I kind of like playing games like Ace Attorney because I mean I love a good story, and I mean sometimes it's hard to pick up a book because books are kind of slow paced a lot of times, but like with like Ace Attorney you get kind of the best. It's the same argument I use for Professor Layton, although to be honest, the Professor Layton games like there's only a few that I really love, but that's a whole nother topic. Let's get to the case by case analysis. Case one. This was the case where Phoenix loses his memory, or he after a blow to the head from the criminal of the case. I can't even spoil it because I don't remember who it was. Uh, he gets bopped on the head and he loses his memory, and then he has to go into court and defend this girl named Maggie Bird, who is a policewoman who is accused of killing her boyfriend, who I believe was also in the police department. I don't really remember this case, which, I mean, I guess speaks to its quality. It's probably the weakest first case of the original trilogy, which I can compare it to the one in Trials and Tribulations because I've played through that case already. Like, I've made it to that point already. I usually don't record reviews until a while after I finish things, just for reasons. I get busy, I guess. I mean, or I just get lazy and busy. But whatever. So I'd say it's probably the weakest first case of the Ace Attorney original trilogy. I don't know if people like this case. The only one I ever really hear people talk about is case three. Um, I thought this first case was fine. I mean, Maggie Bird was all right. She was a little obnoxious, but not she wasn't like Old Bag. Although, I mean, I say that, but I do enjoy Old Bag for the memes. Um, but so yeah, this first case, not really much to talk about. It's a generic tutorial case. They have him lose his memory as a way to teach you do the how to do stuff again, which in my opinion the third game's excuse for redoing tutorials is better, but I'll talk about that when I finish the third game. Um, so let's move on to the second case. Second case is the one where Phoenix goes to Kurain Village or something like that. I'm Kurain. I might be thinking of the country that he goes to in the sixth game, the which I've heard about from like trailers and stuff. Um, so he goes there and he's like helping this dude who's like, I need to talk to Maya Fey or something like that. I don't remember. Right? They have this ritual thing. He wants to summon dead dead employee because he's like people think he killed her because he's like this mean surgeon, kind of like Doctor Strange. I mean, except for Doctor Strange is. There's a movie review of that coming at some point here, or maybe it already released. I don't know. I just kind of upload these, whatever. Um, so they go into this ritual. He's trying to contact. Maya channels this dead girl that worked for him so that he can like prove that he's innocent, so people will stop like spreading rumors about him or whatever. I don't really remember exactly the details of it, but basically when basically something happens, it seems as if Maya channeled this girl and then the girl killed uh whatever the doctor's name was. And so that's the like case you're investigating, trying to figure out who actually did it. Once again, Maya's in danger, just like the first game's second case. Which I mean, whatever. I enjoyed the village, and it's also where you meet Pearl, who is a really fun side character. It's Maya's like 9-year old cousin. I think it's younger than that, like 7, 8. I don't know, just young child cousin. She's very cute. She comes back throughout the game and even in the third game. She's just very sweet, cute girl. Um, and she, so it's all just investigating that, and as you investigate, you find out that a lot of it has to do with like Maya's mother who disappeared, which they talk about in the first game, and that's part of the whole thing, and it's just it kind of unravels. And I thought that was an interesting case. I I'm repeating myself, but like I enjoyed the village, I enjoyed the characters, except for they brought back a lot of heart, and I'm just that's a personal thing. I don't know, like don't see a lot of Heart hate, but honestly, I do not like Alana. I do not like Alana Heart at all. She's one of the most annoying characters to me in Ace Attorney. Worse than Old Bag and worse than a certain clown from the next case, which let's segue to the next case. Case 3, the case that goes down on a lot of people's worst list. This is the one where Phoenix Wright goes to a circus with Maya and Pearl, and they hang out there, and then like the next day he finds out the head guy, Maximilian Galactica, the guy who leads the circus, or is like the star performer of the circus, is accused of killing the ringmaster, Reginald Barry, I think, something like that. I don't know. And so basically, with that case, you end up investigating that one, and you investigate why, and you meet. There's a lot of like colorful characters in that case, which like there's Ben and Trilo. Okay, I'd like to preface this with this case and probably the fourth case. I'm gonna talk more spoilers, and so if you like, I'll try not to spoil any major plot stuff, and if I do, I'll give a major plot spoiler warning. But uh, I just completely forgot what I was gonna say. But if you're one of those people who's like, I can't have anything spoiled for me, not even the tiniest detail, which, I mean, I guess in that case you've already had the fact that I've talked about like what each case is about is already kind of spoiling it. But whatever. If you're like that, just click off now. But I'll try to keep it relatively spoiler free. So the third case, you meet a lot of colorful characters. You meet Ben and Trilo, are a Ben is a ventriloquist, and he's very shy, mild mannered, timid, doesn't talk much. He stutters a lot. But his puppet Trilo is vulgar. It's like tries to flirt with people, all this stuff. That was the worst character in the case for me because he's just like the gag of timid, shy guy with timid, shy ventriloquist guy with a puppet that just is like a loose cannon. It's a thing gimmick that's been done before. Like it's not a new idea. It's pretty generic. And he doesn't really have any real relevance to the case. Like the more you investigate the case, the more you realize he's like a completely pointless character. He's basically just, if you've played Ace Attorney games, which I assume you have if you're watching this, but maybe you haven't. He's basically just that character that you meet that you have to deal with on the first day of the trial, who's there but he has no real use. He's basically the Old Bag of the case, except for Old Bag is funnier, in like a cringy meme way. Well, not cringy, but just she's funnier 'cause she's just so ridiculous. So I didn't like him, but then later, then you meet. Oh yeah, I should talk about Regina Barry, the son of oh, it's Russell Barry. Russell Barry is the ringmaster. Regina Barry is his daughter. She's very pretty, blonde hair. Everybody likes her. Maximilian is into her. Trilo's into her. A character named Bat is into her, which his who he is major spoilers. But okay, let's talk about the real character that a lot of people don't like. Mo the clown. He's a clown because every circus, it's a circus. So you're gonna have a clown character. A lot of people don't like him because he makes really bad jokes. He laughs. He's always trying to get people to laugh at the jokes. He laughs at his own jokes a lot. But at the same time, and he's just kind of like not very helpful because he's so silly. And so a lot of people take issues with that. I don't have it. I love Mo. I love Mo as a character. It's probably because I kind of relate to Mo. I kind of relate to Mo on a personal level. Like, I try to make people laugh a lot. I kind of laugh at my own jokes sometimes. A lot of people don't laugh at my jokes. So and then like I felt bad for Mo a lot of the times because like when you have to deal with him in trial, the judge is like he hates him so much, like to the point where he gives Phoenix penalties every time Mo makes a joke, which I think a lot of people like you could use that as an argument for why Mo is a bad character, but that's not Mo, that's the judge's reaction to Mo. So it's like I just felt bad for Mo. And then occasionally he would get like serious, which it's like clearly he's using the his comedy to like lighten the mood, and but he seems to recognize like when it's not. And as the case goes on, I feel like he becomes more and more aware of when it's time to take away the humor and just be serious. Which I mean, that's character depth. Like that's a development for character, more development than most silly side witness characters in Ace Attorney games get. More than Old Bag, more than Larry Butts. Uh, and they're in way more cases and games than Mo is. As far as I know, Mo's never been brought back. I mean, maybe he has. I don't know. I haven't made it that far into the series, but so that's one thing I like about the case that's a lot of people don't like. I think if I hated Mo, I'd probably have a much harsher opinion on this case. Another thing I like is the villain because he's not really a villain. Like I'm not going to go into detail about who he is, but his reasons for doing so, his reasons for doing what he did are sympathetic and like although they're clearly wrong, you feel bad for him because in a sense he was kind of a victim of an early un, like an accidental victim of an earlier event and he just wanted and there's just you sympathize with him and at the end and he's nice to you like he's not mean, he's not a jerk, he's not like he's not even like an extravagant character with a bunch of like crazy reactions. He's the only like normal like sensible person in the circus group, which is another thing that makes I'm saying I feel like it's going to be obvious who he is as soon as he comes up, but you know what, whatever. It's I did say minor spoilers. One thing I don't like about what they do with his character is that he's so nice and so like unassuming that when you meet him, well not immediately when you meet him, but like as you go on, like after you meet him, the game like pushes you towards the idea that he's the one who did it by having Phoenix think that he's the one who did it. And also by game logic, usually the last character you meet in an Ace Attorney case, especially in one of the like sillier ones, is the guy who did it. So like it's kind of clear that that's there, but like the way the character was written, I'm like I don't think he did it, and the game keeps like telling me that he did it, or like Phoenix keeps saying he did it. I think we need to get him. We need to get this guy, and I'm like he doesn't seem like he did it. There's no motive for him to do it, and it is eventually made clear how it happens. But just like the last trial section in that case was so annoying because I already had kind of a low bar like to begin with because my bar hadn't been completely refilled because of the psych locks, which is actually probably something I should have talked about earlier in the review. But the psych locks, the new mechanic introduced basically in case two. I'm just going to talk about it now. In case two, Pearl gives Maya. No, what? Pearl gives Phoenix this like green gem that's like shaped like a nine, and if you and sometimes when you talk to people, these locks will show up in front of them. It'll go do this fancy change, show up, locks show up, and basically it means they're being like closed off, like they're hiding something from you. And what you do is you present the it's called the Magatama, I don't know, I think it's Magatama, but it's the green nine gem, and when you present it, you get you get to like talk to them in detail, and you have to use evidence to like break their psych locks and get the information out of them. But the problem with it is they changed the health system from 5 exclamation points to a bar, which I actually prefer the 5 exclamation point system, which I've heard they've gone back to in like the most recent game. But okay, the problem I had with the bar with the psych locks is you lose like every time you present incorrectly, you lose a part of the bar. Okay, that's fine. But the problem is when you get to the bottom of the bar, you stay at the bottom of the bar, and then you have to. And well, the problem is sometimes you won't have enough evidence, so you'll get like halfway through a cyclock unlocking thing, and then you're like, oh, I don't have enough evidence, and but you can't like pause the thing there and go find more evidence. You have to click stop and then go find more evidence, which resets the cyclock. So when you go back to talk to the guy, you have to go through their cyclocks all over again, and it's just very annoying to have to do that, especially if you like forget one of the answers and then you end up getting more strikes because of it. And and it's like the bar depletes when you get those strikes, but then and it doesn't refill. It doesn't refill over time. It only refills when you successfully complete a cyclock. So like for the third case, the final trial, I had done so badly on the cyclocks that my bar had been drained. I've learned to be more conservative about the cyclocks, but like at this point I wasn't really good at them. So like my cyclock bar had already drained like all the way to the bottom, and then it had recovered to about half. But when you go into the trial, it keeps it at half. It doesn't refill it, which I think is stupid. I mean, you could argue that this is all because I was just bad at the game, and that's certainly an element of it, but I think there's definitely some tweaking that could have been done there to make the Cyclock system more, like, more, like, easy to use and helpful rather than a burden. So, but anyway, I'll back to the third case now. Well, wait, I'm trying to think if there's any more general topics that it took a Cyclox. You can present profiles now. That's the thing. Like you can present the person, which I mean, it's like whatever. It's a minor change, but I mean, it basically just adds more things to present, which man, whatever. Cyclox. As far as I can think, it's really the only major gameplay change. Um, so back to the third case. So it was just really annoying. The last trial segment, a lot of the things are not like the case is not as well written as most of the other Ace Attorney cases. Like there's a lot of like things and like tricks and like explanations of what happened that don't quite make sense, or like things that don't quite match the way they should, which made that trial just very confusing for me, especially since my bar was so low. So I got so many games. I had to like reset and save scum constantly because it was like a lot of dumb crap. And at one point I figured out something that I was like ahead of the game. I was like, dude, I've got this. I know this piece of information. But then the game wanted me to present it in a certain order that just did not make sense. So I ended up guessing a bunch anyway. It was just whatever. But the results of it was good. Like the final scene where the villain finally like reveals, okay, yeah, I did it, is very like it's heart like you feel bad for him. You're like, oh man, dude, you screwed yourself over, man. Like that really sucks. Uh, and then at the end, a little tear comes down from his eye, and you're like, "Aw!" Like I'm pretty sure I like out loud said, "Aw," when that happened. Well, not all like that's cute, but aw, that's sad. And it is. It's like it's a tragic story. It's this is a semi bigger spoiler, so just if you want to fast forward a couple like seconds or just like mute the video and I'll dab when I'm done talking about this. But like basically it's your standard like person accidentally kills some like that the bad guy will accidentally killed Russell, who he had a strong connection to because he was trying to kill someone else, and that's like one of the crazy circus people basically, and it's you feel bad for him because he's the only like normal one. I feel like that's also part of the reason why a lot of those characters were written so like weirdly, is because they were supposed to be like kind of dumb circus people, but eh, I can't say it always works. So overall, the case is a mixed bag, but between the sympathetic villain and his final heart jerking moment, characters with a lot of with a lot of development like Mo, and a surprise appearance of a certain popular character from the first game, the case comes around being one of my favorite one like a really strong case. Like I loved it. I thought it was on par with the second case of the game, maybe better. So now the fourth case. Oh boy, the fourth case. This is the case that is loved. Like a lot of people say in general the game's not that good, but everybody's like, oh, the fourth case is freaking great. Um, Basically, the fourth case does a lot of like bringing back older characters and also introducing new ones. It's a very long, complicated case, but it's very interesting. Um, so basically, there's a guy who's playing the I don't remember. Basically a Steel Samurai type character. It's not called the Steel Samurai, but it was like ye old. I don't know, but the costume is basically the same. So it reuses a lot of ideas from Turnabout Samurai. Like Old Bag returns. There's a case of once again Old Bag comes back, sees the murderer wearing a samurai costume, and that's her basis for thinking that whoever that your client did it, your client and so that's kind of like a it's a reuse of Turnabout Samurai type stuff, but at the same time I liked Turnabout Samurai, so having that basis of stuff that you already know. It also brings back Will Powers, although in a fairly minor role, and was Larry Butts in this case? No. Larry Butts was something else. Lotta Hart is the one that comes back in this case, which, Lotta Hart, again, I don't like Lotta Hart, but at the same time, I don't think she ever actually talks in a trial or anything, at least not for a long time. She's very, very minor character in the case. Her and Will Powers are probably the two least important characters in the case. And Old Bag comes back, which, I mean, for some that'd probably be annoying, but I like Old Bag. Old Bag's funny to me. But okay, so basically, there's this guy named Matt Engarde who plays this like samurai dude, and he has a rivalry with another man named God, what was his name? Juan Carida. That's what it was. Juan Carida, and Juan Carida plays another character. He's like Jamin Samurai or something. I don't know. It's like a samurai who plays a banjo or something. It's kind of stupid, but they both play these characters on these TV shows, and Matt Engarde has just won an award that was up between him and Carida, their rivals. And then he's there's been a presentation scheduled where Matt Engarde is going to reveal something about him, like reveal a secret or something, and you find out what the secret is eventually. But and so and then suddenly you find out that Juan Carida has been murdered by allegedly Matt Engarde. He's the one who's under accused. But here's the twist that makes it high stakes. Maya has been kidnapped. A man named DeKiller who is hired to kill. He's a hired assassin. DeKiller, the name. It's one of the most obvious puns in Phoenix Wright, but whatever, it's cool. And he's a cool character. He was hired to kill Juan Carida by someone, as it comes out. And he was also hired to kill Maya, or not kill Maya, kidnap Maya as a way of getting Phoenix on this case. And so he's investigating it, and basically you go through and you meet. There's a lot of cool characters in this. There's Adrian Andrews, who is Matt Engarde's manager, who is also a lover of Carida, and there's a lot of depth and things that are revealed about her throughout the case. Also, Edgeworth returns, which is lit, because Edgeworth's just cool, and he's even cooler in this case. Basically, Francisca, the prosecutor of the game, Manfred von Karma from the first game, his daughter, who, yeah, she's not, that was the topic I was going to talk about that was general, but of course, I forgot it because I'm dumb. She's she's just not. I mean, like she gets some development, but a lot of it is like kind of repetitive stuff from like the first game of like what does being a prosecutor mean? What does being a defense attorney mean? Being a prosecutor means getting a win. Blah blah blah. It's repetitive stuff. But she is very like her personality is pretty cool, and the gag of her having a whip that she always whips people with is pretty funny. So she's not like an awful character. She just doesn't have the same level of development that Edgeworth has. But especially since she sits out for most of the last case because she gets shot by the killer, and then instead Phoenix is going up against Edgeworth, and so or shot in the shoulder by the killer, and so Phoenix is going up against Edgeworth for most of the case, which is interesting because they're like sort of friends but also kind of rivals. But here's the thing that makes this case really interesting, and this is where we're going into major spoiler territories. Because I can't really talk about what makes this case like great without going into major spoiler territories. So just like old dab again when I'm done talking about the spoilers, and then I can give my overall opinion. So you could just like, mute it or fast forward. I don't know. All right, so here's the big thing. Matt Engarde, your client, is the killer. I mean, not literally the killer, but he's the one who hired the killer to kill Karida. Like he's a bad guy. And the reveal of that is so cool. Like he's got the hair. If I'm assuming if you're watching it from this point, you know what I'm talking about. But I'm gonna talk about it. The hair in front of it. So he seems like kind of a doofy guy. At one point, you ask him point blank, "Did you kill Juan Karida?" And he says no, and there's no Cyclops. So assume, yeah, okay, he's just dumb. He didn't do it, despite the fact that the killer is holding Maya hostage in exchange for getting Engarde an innocent verdict, which I mean would make him suspicious. But like the Cyclops thing, it kind of like so you kind of dismiss him as not being the one who did it, and he's so like unassuming. Like he seems very dumb. He's constantly like talking to his producers, getting opinions. So he seems like the typical celebrity who can't think for themselves, and he's got like. But then there's a brilliant moment you I don't remember exactly what leads into this reveal, but at some point it becomes clear that he did it. And then he flips his hair back and he's got these like scratches right here, which just look really cool. And he pulls out this he's got like this one gust and the music changes from, the like simple standard like do 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 do, although I don't think it's actually that song there, but like it's just a very basic song to this like intense like I don't remember how it goes, but it's Matt Engarde's evil Engarde's theme basically, and it's really cool. I was like, holy crap, what? Is just a big shock, and then from there it's just like phenomenal all the way through. You've got Gumshoe racing around town trying to find a killer and save Maya. You've got Edgeworth as the prosecutor who knows about Engarde. You've got all these like twists and secrets of basically Engarde's old or is it Engarde's old manager? I don't remember, but there's a woman named Celeste Impax who was going to get married to Juan, and she used to be with Max, or she used to be with Matt, and he was an abusive boyfriend. And so but she like didn't break up with him before she started dating Juan or something like that. So basically, like Matt told Juan, because Matt's basically it's revealed you see that Matt is as opposed to the guy as opposed to Acro from the third case, uh, Matt is a complete like just he's a like Acro's sympathetic and like you understand why he did what he did. Matt is just a complete like psychopath. Like he's a sociopath, like crazy manipulator. Yeah. So what he does is like Juan proposes to Celeste or something, and then Matt tells Juan about his history with Celeste, like their secret relationship, and so Juan breaks up with her, and she hangs herself, which is very dark, and then which makes Adrian Andrews attempt to commit suicide because she was dependent on Celeste. She has like a dependent nature. It's really dark, like interesting stuff. And so they never found like her suicide note, which I mean the part about her hanging herself was revealed like or before Matt Engarde reveal, but the fact that she's the extent of her connection to Matt Engarde and like why she hung herself and why he broke up with her, this is you find this out towards the end, and so like Adrian Andrews knew, and so what she was trying to do, it's such a complicated series of it. She was helping Juan play in the bigger vid. He was going to go on stage wearing Matt's samurai costume and reveal that who Matt is, and so Matt couldn't allow that, so he had to kill Juan, and kidnap Maya to force Phoenix to help him. So like he like reveals himself and he's like, you can't abandon my case because I have Maya captured. And he always holds this little like a wine glass when he's evil, which is a cool image. He's like, you can't stop me. Except for it's a lot cooler than that cheesy bullcrap that I just did. So basically the entire last trial section, like Edgeworth knows that Maya's been kidnapped and he knows who the guilty person is, but they can't give him a guilty verdict. The judge doesn't know, but they can't give him a guilty verdict because then Maya will die, and they can't. And Phoenix doesn't want to give him an innocent verdict because in order to get Engarde an innocent verdict, he has to convict someone else. So Adrian Andrews probably because she's the she was the one that seemed like she was going to be it during the first couple trials. You know, there's always that one character that seems like they're going to be the one who did it, and then they aren't. It's the standard in most mystery stories. But so the entire last trial section is like going back and forth with Phoenix and Edgeworth, like working around Matt Engarde, and eventually you end up talking to the killer via a walkie-talkie, and he's like giving his testimony. You're trying to like work around it so that Engarde doesn't get guilty, but he doesn't get innocent, and it's like this crazy balancing act that Phoenix and Edgeworth are both a part of, like, and it's just it's like crazy, like phenomenally interesting back and forth between them until eventually and Gumshoe can't even like Gumshoe and Francisca. Eventually, Francisca burst in with like evidence from the killer's place, which proves to be the last needed evidence, and so what ends up but then you can't give Engarde. I don't know. I mean, I'm already talking spoilers, so whatever. Basically, the only way you end up getting it is the killer is you end up getting the killer to because the killer has like this like set of moral codes that he like trust between him and the client. So you have to get him to not trust his client anymore, so that he lets Maya go before you can actually get Engarde a guilty verdict. So that ends up being what the case is about. It's such an interesting like twist and turn and weave and dab. It's such an the fourth case is such an interesting set of twists and turns. It's up there with like the fourth. It's like the fourth case of the first game, where it's just the Phoenix Wright game final case, crazy loop de loop, woody woo, crazy twist, complicated, nothing is as it seems type thing, but with these like real emotional stakes, more so than in any of the other Phoenix Wright cases. I mean, yeah, in the first game you're trying to save Edgeworth, but that's not the same as trying to save Maya. Like trying to save Maya and spoilers for a couple seconds, knowing your client is guilty just raises the stakes so high and makes things so interesting that it's just an absolutely great case. And there's some nice resolution stuff that wraps up afterward, but I think that stuff's kind of iffy, to be honest. I guess a lot of it's like discussions about like if I'm a defense attorney, how should I defend my client? It's a lot of like moral stuff about what it means to be a defense attorney and prosecutor and all that, which I mean is fine, but there's so much dialogue about it. Like they really like go back and forth on it so much, and it gets kind of tedious. And that's really my one complaint about the fourth case is how they handle some of that. It's kind of iffy, but like just everything else is just like absolutely great. So that's why I'd say overall Justice for All is a great game. probably just as good as the first one, because you've got the Case 4, which is, the more I think about it right now and talk about it, probably my favorite case that I've played so far. You've got Case 3, which has its flaws, but is still a very fun case, in my opinion. You've got Case 2. It does a lot of nice world building compared to the first game, which is like establishing a basis of how things work in the Phoenix Wright series. It's got some nice new mechanics. The Cyclocks are kind of annoying, but whatever. I've been talking for 40 minutes, so I think just say play this game. Play the first game first. Obviously, you want to play these in order, but like, I mean, I'm sure I recommended this in the first game review, but like, get the trilogy on the 3DS. It's $30. Just get it and play it. It's so fun, and I'm loving playing it. In fact, I think I'm gonna go play some of the third game right now. Well, yeah. Okay. Arrivederci!